Okay, so the slides uploaded.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So who will?
Yes. So let's start the session. Online learning is not the next big thing. It is now big thing. A very good afternoon to everyone present here. I am Swagat Abhiraj David, the moderator for today's session organized by Law Internships. Law Internship is started with the objective of providing first-hand experience of the day-to-day functioning of the various legal bodies through legal internships to students pursuing undergraduate or postgraduate program in law by Mr. Shubham Solanki sir, the co-founder and partner, and Ms. Amrita Jain ma'am, partner at Law Internships. We have amongst us Ms. Ananya Bhardwaj ma'am. Ananya Bhardwaj was working as a research associate in law in Competition Commission of India and is presently pursuing her PhD from KIT University in law relating to copyright. She is a BBLLB IPR honors graduate and has completed her LLM with University Gold Medal from National Law University of Odisha. She has been a part of more than 50 national and international level MUNs and debate competitions. She has been a chief advisor of IDIA MUN 2020 and also served as Secretary General of 3 Model United Nations conferences. She also has several articles published in various national and international journals. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you, Swagat. So I hope the slides are uploaded because I'm unable to access the slides for some reason. Yes.
Yes,
Thank you, Prerna. Yes. So yes. So will I be able to change the slides, or will Prerna you'll be changing the slides?
Ma'am, you can tell me when to change and
Okay.
I'll do it.
Sure. So now we'll be on the first slide. So I hope everybody has
sorry,
joined.
sorry for interruptions. Before this, I can give some instructions to the participants as well. Can I?
Yeah. Sure, Swagat.
Thank you. So, before we being with the session, I would like to give few instructions. It is going to be an interactive session. In case of any questions, either write your question in the chat box or unmute yourself and ask the question. I also request everybody to mute their mics and turn on their videos. Without delaying any further, let's begin the session for today. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Swagat. Before that, I would just like to say something that yes, it is going to be an interactive session. But once I'm just done with the slide, I can open up to questions, or we can do one thing after the whole session is done, we can open up to questions. Because if it is an interactive session, somehow I'll be missing out on certain points, right? So I guess that would be better that once I'm done, we can have a whole question answer session. If that's okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So good morning, all of you, and I welcome you to this webinar on importance of research in legal studies and career as a legal researcher. As you can see, the first slide that just mentions the topic. So before even thinking that how further this session is going to be, you need to understand one thing that hello, I'm new to Zoom. I'm really sorry. So this session is going to emphasize more on how research is a fundamental part of legal studies, what importance research has in studying law, and how you can actually cultivate this habit to go further into and taking up this as a career option. So without much delay, I'll just move to the second slide. So Prerna, can you change the slide? Yes. So first question that always comes up when we talk about research is what is research? So the word itself, if you Google it, you will get thousands of definitions. You will get 1,000 definitions given by various jurists. But you need to understand for yourself what research is and what is your whole concept of research. So as you can see, there are 8 words displayed on the screen. And if you read these words are going to be something that you know. But these are not 8 haphazard words. These 8 words are the basic crux of what is research. So when we talk about research, it must be something that makes you think. You have to think about something. You cannot do a research without thinking. You cannot just say that I can read, I'll retain, and I'll just produce the same thing. No, you have to sleep on it. You have to think about it. You have to juggle your mind. You cannot do a certain research without thinking. Here, when you read something, you need to take it in, think about it, and then produce a certain thing. And that leads to research. The second thing is understand. If you yourself don't understand something, you can never produce a research paper. It is not a compilation of things that you copy paste from 3 to 4 pages or 3 to 4 books. Research has to do a lot with understanding. It has to, you have to understand the thing, and you have to produce something. You have to give out a result which will be different from what you actually read. Because when we read law, even when we read a bare act, the interpretation differs from person to person. One person can interpret a certain law in certain form. The other can have a different variation of the same law. Understand. So it all depends upon understanding. And when it comes to research, understanding plays a very important role. The next point is you have to analyze. You have to put in your brain to do some thinking which is analytical in nature. As in, you have to realize that when you are reading something, it is just not that, it's not a story that you just read and you're done and you imagine in your brain. It's not all fiction. You have to analyze every situation, that whether that analysis basically means all the WH questions. Why, when, how, what. So you have to ponder about it. You have to analyze it. Next thing is going deep. Research can never be a superficial thing. Research is never superficial. When it comes to scientific research, it's very different than what we talk about legal research. Legal research needs, scientific research has data, has numbers. So sometimes you can say that scientific research is very easy. It's either black or white. Things are either you you get a proper experiment done, or you don't get any results. But when we talk about legal research, there is no black and white. There's always a gray area. So you're not always sure about what is actually going to be the conclusion. So you have to dig in deep. You have to keep pondering. And another thing about legal research is it changes. You cannot just stick with time that that you read something and that is going to be what you can write a paper about it and just be done. Even if you write a paper in suppose 2020, when you move to 2030, that paper will become a waste, because things would have changed a lot. And you need to understand that you need to keep changing your paper. You need to keep modifying. You need to keep adapting. And that is what research is all about. Research needs to bring out new questions. If there are no new questions when you read something, if something is very clear about something, like this is it, and you read it and you are like, yes, I understood everything, then there is no question of research, because you understood what is this. There's no problem, there's a solution given, everything is perfect, it's a perfect universe. But research comes into play only when there are going to be new questions. You need, when you read something or when you see something, it should strike your mind that something is missing. There's a vacuum that needs to be filled. And that is when research will come into picture. The next point is observe. You need to be very observant about everything. Legal studies is a very static field. You cannot just say that I'm done with one case is done and that is going to be the major case and landmark decision and that is going to prevail. No, anything can change. There might be a ruling which will overrule the previous judgment. So you need to be very observant. You need to observe everything that is changing, every judgment that is being given, every amendment that is made to a law. So you need to be very observant when you do a research. Next is reasoning. A research cannot be done without a reason. There has to be a reason for the research. You need to find a reasoning. For example, if you want to research about the domestic abuse prevailing in the country, so in the first place, you need to question that why am I doing this research? You need to give reasoning to your research, that whether it is going to bring any output which is going to be valuable to the society if I do this research. So every research has to come with a reasoning. It cannot be without a reason. You cannot just say that I feel like doing it. I feel like researching on IPR. You cannot just feel like researching on certain topics. You need to find a reason behind it. And the last point is data. Data is very important when it comes to research. Research can be basically of two types. When one is empirical research and one is doctrinal research. I will not go into these variations, but for the purpose of data, I'll just say that numbers play an important role. When it comes to law, you cannot always say that a law is all about numbers, but there's data. If you're analyzing something, there will be case laws. There will be various documents, international conventions which you need to consider. You cannot just pick up a book or a bare act and just sit with that alone. You need to gather data. There will be primary data, some will be secondary data. So research is all about these things, according to me, that it has to cultivate thinking. You need to understand something before going into researching it. You need to analyze. You need to go deep into this thing. It must strike new questions in your brain. You need to be observant. Your research must have a reasoning behind it, and you need to substantiate it with data, either primary or secondary data. Prerna, can we move to the next slide? So next is the importance of research. Uh, we need to think that why are we this topic will be actually divided into two parts. One will be importance of research, and the other will be importance of legal research. So when we talk about importance of research, why in the first place do we need to research? Sometimes it might come to you that some things are known and it's okay to just know that things and just move on. So why do we need to research something? So the basic motto or the basic result of research or the importance of research is to cultivate learning and building knowledge. You need to learn more. You cannot just say that what is given to you, that has to be it. There can be more to this, and that can only be done by research. Suppose you go to the class, your faculty tells you something, and you just jot it down, you remember that, and you mug it up, and that is how you give your examination. But somewhere that has to strike in your brain that is that data that given to me, that information, that piece of information delivered to me in the class enough for me? That is when the whole purpose of research comes in. That no, that is not enough. You need to go back, you need to do your self study, you need to open few more books, you need to go through few case laws, you need to google stuff, you need to know more about this. So learning and building knowledge is one of the basic importance of research. The next importance is to understand various issues. You cannot just, if something, suppose you are given with a piece of paper and you are just asked to make something out of it, a simple piece of paper. So it is very difficult for you to actually gather your brain that do I draw on this paper, or do I fold this paper, do I write something down on this paper? So you can do a lot of things with that paper. So first you need to understand the whole question that is asked to you, that what you have to do with that paper. If you know exactly what you have to do with that paper, then you can actually give the proper result. If you don't know, if something is very ambiguous, you cannot do the right thing that is asked. So research helps you to understand various issues. If you research deep into a topic, you get to understand that whether that is actually a problem just in your country or internationally, whether a solution is already existing in some other country, whether it can be used by you. So this is all that it can be done in by research. Then the next point is when you have to prove something. So even in our general life, in our normal day-to-day life, if you are arguing with somebody on some topic, some information, and you have to prove it, you substantiate it by googling it. You google it and you're like, see, I told you, this is the thing. So similarly, we do that was actually research. You researched. So that's a, so basically we research every day when we are even cooking, when we are looking for some recipe, and that is also research. So research is something which we do in our day-to-day life, and that is how important research is. The next importance of research is to cultivate reading, writing, and sharing of information. You cannot do research without reading. If you are not a reader, you cannot be a researcher. It is not, I wouldn't say that you need to read novels in your childhood, or you would have read a lot of books, then only you can be a researcher. No, but you need to cultivate that habit of reading. You cannot just say that I will just control F, put the word, search through the document. That is not done when you research. A researcher has to read between the lines. A researcher has to go through every document with a very fine eye. You need to cultivate that habit of reading. And just not reading. When you read something, you need to write it down. You need to write what exactly you imbibed from that document. So reading, writing, and by writing, you are sharing that information with others. Or when you read a document, you go and discuss it with your friend. You are sharing that information. So research really helps to cultivate reading, writing, and sharing of information. And the most important thing about research is it exercises your brain. You cannot, if somebody, let's take for example a faculty, a teacher who has been teaching for years. They have their notes written in a piece of paper or a book which they have been using for years. So if they come and they read the same thing, eventually down the line, you will realize that their brain is stuck with that much data and they have not adapted themselves to the present reality or the present case laws. At times you feel like going to their class is a waste of time because you're not getting anything new. You can Google it and read that. So research is very important in every sphere. It actually exercises your brain. It helps you imbibe new things. So it's like a task for the brain. You give your brain a task. So these are the basic importance of, in general, we can say research. Moving to the next slide, Prerna, can we move to the next slide? Yeah. Importance of legal research. So this is what is very important to us. So as I know that you all are in mostly in second year and third year, this is actually the time where you can venture into research, because eventually as you move into your fourth year and fifth year, you will realize that you are burdened with your submissions, you are burdened with what exactly you are going to do for your career. So you need to start it early. You need to build your resume accordingly, and you need to venture into this field of legal research. This is the right time, because now you are very fresh to this legal field. There are not certain things that are feeded to you. You know that you have that ability to question. If you read something, a WH thing pops up in your brain, you need to ask it. So importance of legal researcher is, if you legal research is, if you it helps you to understand the law, because law in itself is very complicated. It is not as simple as it appears. So even if we read one section, one particular section of an act, it is difficult times to comprehend it, to understand it, to interpret it, and that is when you actually need this legal research. It helps you to understand a particular law. Then legal research helps you to merge the gap between case laws and a statute. So when you read a statute, when you read an act, a particular section, you just understand the vocabulary or the literary aspect of that particular section. But when you read a particular case in relation to that section, there's a difference between theory and practical. There has always been a difference. So a legal research actually helps you to merge that gap, to blend, to make a coherent bonding between case law and statute, which will result in a very useful legal standard which can be used together to understand something. The next point will be to add to existing knowledge pool. So law is changing. It's not constant. It is changing every day, every hour. Even when we're talking, there are certain that are changing, certain laws that are changing. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So can I carry on? There was some
Yes,
sound.
ma'am.
Yeah. So legal research helps you to add to the existing knowledge pool. Then the most important thing about research and legal research is it helps you to solve an existing problem. The problem is not necessarily a problem to the society in general. When you read something and something strikes your mind, it hits a vein in your brain that why is this like this? What is this? How exactly is this happening in this scenario? So there itself a problem is created. A vacuum is created in your brain which needs to be filled. And similarly, there are certain vacuums in the society. There are certain problems which are existing in the society which needs a solution. And legal research emphasizes on solving such problems. Now, can we move to the next slide? So this is a very you can say this is a slide which you need to actually memorize if you really want to, because this is not a subject related, but this is a very practical related slide. What I have experienced in my career, in while I was teaching or I was researching, or during as I'm pursuing my PhD, these are the things that I have actually, you can say, discovered that these are certain things that one needs to keep in mind. So research paper writing, and when we talk about research paper writing, uh, as I said, now that you're in your second and third year, uh, your paper research will be more extensive. You will do a lot of research as you don't know many things. So as you go on researching, you will get all the information, and you can start with small things. Like, I wouldn't say that you should directly go for a journal publication. That's a long way. So nowadays there are various options where you can go forward with your research. So one is a journal article, the other is your blog article. Nowadays, a lot of blogs are started not just by various colleges, but various student forums also. They have started their own blogs, and these blogs, online blogs, are very subject oriented as well. You will find specific blogs on competition law, specific blogs on intellectual property rights or criminal law. So if you research on something, you can actually not just focus on writing a big journal article, because a journal article is a lengthy one. A journal article uh, is of 5,000 words minimum. So you can start with a blog. You can start writing an article for a blog, which can be from 1,000 to 1,500 words. You can start with something small, or you can eventually you can go for your paper presentation in a conferences. There are various seminars and conferences are held where you need not to submit a full paper, but a basic research that you have done, and you can present that in the conference. So while writing all these, you need to keep certain things in your mind. The first thing is when you write a journal article, the most important thing about writing a lengthy article, because you're writing a 5,000 words article, you cannot just copy paste from 5 sources and you say that that is your article. That's wrong. You need to do a empirical study or a solution oriented study. Your research should have a solution. You are stating what is the problem, and you are giving a solution. Then only it is fit to be an article. For a journal article, the research has to be very extensive. As I said, that it is starting from 5,000 words. So you need to have lot of data to write an article of that length, and it must have a conclusion. You cannot leave a journal article just at an open end. It has to have a conclusion. Coming to blog articles are simpler. There, if there's any topic, you are giving your opinion and you are giving an analysis that this data are present in the data pool, and you are wondering that there is a lacuna or there's a problem, and by analyzing the various existing laws or case laws or international conventions, you have come up with certain analysis. So a blog article is a simpler version. When it comes to paper presentation as a conference, it is not a lengthy paper. It is very to the point paper. You are stating that this is your topic, and these are your points, and this is the solution you are giving. So you can start off with, as I suggest, you can start off with blog articles and eventually expand those articles into paper presentation and journal articles. So in the first go, don't think that you can just take up your laptop and you will search 5 forums and you can make a journal article. It's very difficult. It takes 6 to 7 months actually to properly be done with the research of an article, and more 2 months to actually write an article. So a journal article is not what I would say, if you want a proper journal article, well, you can come up with articles as your college submissions as well, copy paste stuff. But then those are plagiarized. Those are not right way of doing a research or a paper writing. So you need to take, it takes time to build something nice, something concrete, which you can actually share it with the world. You need to remember that your research paper is your face to the world. You are sharing something what you feel to the world. So it cannot be something that you have copied from 5 people. It has to be your original thing. Moving to the next slide, uh, that is research paper writing need to have these 4 points. It's very important to have these 4 things while you're writing a research paper. First is your own understanding. As I said, you just cannot copy paste stuff. You need to understand it. If you don't understand something, you have no right to mention that in your paper. So you need to understand it, you need to paraphrase it, you need to change the wordings a bit. You need to, suppose when you watch a movie, a 2-hour movie, you watch the whole movie, but when your friend asks you for a review, that kaisa tha movie? So you don't sit and you tell the whole story, dialogue by dialogue, the whole 2-hour script. No, you just give them a brief summary that एक hero था, एक heroine थी, ऐसे सब हुआ, खत्म. So similarly, it is about research. When you read a 200 or even a 10-page article, you need to find the crux of that article. That what exactly is the crux? What exactly is the basis, or what that article wants to tell you? You need to understand that, and then you can present it in your own words. While you are writing a research paper, one very important thing is literature review. Literature review means reviewing all the existing knowledge. So existing knowledge can be, as I said, case laws, your bare acts, your conventions, international conventions. It can be anything that is already existing. So you need to do a proper literature review. You shouldn't just write something haphazardly what you think. It's not your personal blog, it's a research paper. So you need to understand that, suppose you are researching on uh, uh, domestic abuse, as I have been giving the example. So you need to understand that what are the existing laws for domestic abuse, what form of offense that is, what are the various landmarks judgment which are already associated with that. Then you can do your research. If you don't know what is exactly already existing, how can you come up with something new? You need to know what is existing. Then you need to give proper footnoting or proper acknowledgement. You cannot just copy someone's work and claim it to be yours. You need to give a proper acknowledgement, proper acceptance that yes, this is their work that I have copied, and you need to give proper footnoting. Then the next is your paper should have a proper conclusion. If it doesn't have a proper conclusion, uh, 1 second. Sorry. So your paper needs to have a proper conclusion. Without a conclusion, there cannot be a research paper writing. If your paper doesn't provide any proper conclusion, then your paper doesn't really focuses on anything, doesn't really impart anything. So your paper should have your own understanding. You must have done a proper literature review. There must be proper footnoting and acknowledgement. And at the end, it must have a proper conclusion. So can we move to the next slide? Yes. So next is publication. So as I said, you can go for journal articles, blogs, or paper conferences, paper presentation conferences. So after that, taking a step higher, you can go for publication. Like you can get your work published in journals. So there are certain things. These journals are of various types. They are divided. First is our index journals. What are index journals? Index journals are journals where a quality review is done by an indexer. So for example, a indexer can be Scopus. These are certain organizations which actually put certain criterias that how can you assess your paper is of good quality. So they have put 10 points. If your paper qualifies those 10 points, then your paper is of their quality. And uh, there are certain journals which are issued a certain quality mark. They are given certain scores, points. And if your article is being published in those journals, then your article, even if you have written 20 articles in some random journal and you have written one article in a proper index journal, it will have the same weight. So basically, it is about quality and not about quantity. Research paper publication is never about quantity. You cannot say that in 5 years I'll write 50 papers. Like I have had a teaching career of 3 years and extending that with my work, total student and teaching career of these 9 years, and I have 6 publications. So you cannot say that you need to have 60 publications, 50 publications, but your one publication must be of that quality that it is equivalent to any 20 publications. So moving further, there are various things associated with publication like ISBN number and ISSN number. So when you go for a publication, a book has a serial number, or and journal also has a serial number. So you can get your articles published in those journals. Then having a serial number somehow means that the book is listed and it's authentic, and you can actually publish a journal articles in those journals or books. And then there are certain journals or blogs which are peer reviewed or referred journals. What is peer reviewed? When you send in an article, that article is reviewed by 2 3 people, and it is a blindfold review. They don't know your name, they don't know where you teach or you're student of which college. For them it is just a piece of article written by some anonymous person. So they will review it without any bias. They will actually see whether your research is good. So you can actually send your articles to any peer reviewed or referred journals. Now moving to the next slide, which is a dissertation or PhD research. So here I would actually like to ask whether, I think you all belong to second, third, fourth year. So do we need to, we can skip on this slide as it talks about PhD research, and so I don't think they require it. So Agat, can we skip this slide?
Your wish, ma'am. But if anyone wants to know something about the PhD research, or if anyone is interested to go for that after the 5 year, after the college, you can. It's your wish, ma'am.
So see, PhD is a step higher when you actually want to go into research and you are focusing on that. So I think we'll move to the next slide, which will give you an idea about research, which is research jobs. So first is research is a very, you can say, very respected field where it's very nice to be called out that she's a researcher. It feels as if you know more than the general public, because you have done some research, you have put in your time into this. So first thing I would say that you should think of a career in research only when you have interest. If you don't have interest, you can never pursue this job, because this job will be, you need to have that passion of everything that I have said, to think, analyze, observe, then only you can go for a research job. The next thing is there's a lot of reading, like a lot of reading. As I said, you cannot just skip on pages, you need to read line by line. And there are certain research jobs which are now in various ministries, so where you are attached with a member of parliament. So maybe you are discussing the new amendment, or you're discussing the new law or bill, any policy. So you cannot just skip certain points, because you are the first proofreader of that document, something that can become a law tomorrow, that is in your hand as a mere black and white printout. So you need to give your time, you need to give your research to that, and you need to focus on it. The next thing is you need to develop writing skill. You cannot just say that if you're a good reader, you're a good researcher. Writing and reading go hand in hand when we talk about research. Research, whatever you research, whatever you read, you need to be able to write it down in a proper way, in a simpler form that is understand, that everybody can understand. You need to be very proficient with MS Office. You need to be very good, not just with MS Word, but MS Excel as well. You need to develop that. You need to know the shortcuts, the shorthand. So it's important that you know MS Office, and your typing speed should be good. I would say you cannot just sit there finding keys and alphabets. It's very difficult in a research job. And the next is online research. You need to be quick with it. If someone utters, your hand should be on your phone or your laptop searching that. You need to be very good with online research, not just Google. Of course, you need to be very good with various case laws website, the various websites of various high courts, various organization websites. So you need to go through these things. You need to cultivate these things. Are not some things that overnight you can have. I cannot just ask you to become a good develop fast typing today. You have to start it now. I cannot ask you that you should know every website existing in legal universe. You need to know it, step by step. So if these 5 points are there in you, then you are definitely ready for a research job. And trust me, there are a lot of research jobs. Everything in law is about research. Every ministry, the whole system runs on research. Now, as starting from schools, colleges, and going up to the parliament, everywhere research is required. And legal research has no boundary. If you have interest, a research job is very promising these days. So that would be my session. So thank you. The next slide will be thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It was an amazing session. And if anyone has any doubts or any questions, either write it on the chat box or unmute yourself and ask the question. We hope someone.
I would prefer them to unmute themselves and ask me, so that I can unmute directly.
No one wanted to interrupt you, so maybe someone has some doubts, so they want to mention. Any question, guys?
Seems like everybody is ready
Right,
for it.
everyone is a quick learner.
Ma'am.
No, now maybe I think nobody is ready for
I guess one question.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, the problem arises when I start writing article on the beginning, starting
Okay.
2 3 para. So how to cope up with that? For example, if any
Yes.
topic is there, so how to start
Okay.
the starting of the article?
Okay. See, first I would say what I usually do, and trust me, this is a very good way of writing. Is uh, you whenever you read a document, if you're reading a document and you think that certain part of the document is very useful, you just copy paste it in your Word file, in a new document, and keep copy pasting everything that you feel is important. Or every time you read a document, you write 2 3 line summary of that in your document. So first you need to have data. It is very unwise to actually start writing paragraphs, because you're not writing an essay, this is an article. So you need to have lot of data. So you first gather the data. This is a rough skeleton you need to gather. So you gather all the data in your pages, a 7 to 8 page full of data, case laws, and the case laws judgments. You all, you copy paste everything. Then you start paraphrasing it. Then you start, mixing. You need to, when someone is reading it, it should come with a flow. So you create the flow. Once you create the flow and you know what exactly is the content of your paper, then you write your introduction. Because it is you cannot write an introduction in the beginning. Introduction should be something which you need to, it should speak everything that is in your paper. So after writing a main content, you write the introduction, then you move to your conclusion. So that is actually very helpful, and I would suggest that you can do that. You first get your content, then you write your introduction, and then move to the conclusion. And do let me know if that actually helps.
There is a question in the chat box from Anirudh Mukherjee. So,
Yeah.
so his question is, good morning, ma'am. One doubt I have: when I read something before writing a paper, should I make small points to help in writing?
Yes, definitely. Whenever you are reading something, you need to make small points, because see, there are times when you have actually read 2 3 papers, but you don't remember what was what is mentioned in that paper or this paper. So either you can do bookmarks, or you can write small things or keywords. That what I usually do, like when I'm researching for my PhD. So I have in a folder like 50 to 60 documents. So it is very haphazard for me to go through one particular document. So what I do, I initiate a keyword to every document. Suppose I have read a document, and one document talks about piracy, internet piracy. So, and in relation to that, it mentions a solution to internet piracy. So I rename that document that solutions to internet piracy, and I mark the highlight the part in that document which is in relation to that. So whenever I'm writing my paper and I'm in that part of the paper where I'm writing solutions, I know which file to open and what to see. So that actually helps.
Okay, so I hope Anirudh, you've got your answer.
Ma'am,
Hope your doubt is clear.
ma'am, ma'am, actually, I wanted to ask a question.
Yeah.
Shreya, you unmute yourself.
Yeah, Shreya, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, Shreya, you're audible. Say.
Now, actually, I want to question that since we all are we just entered second year. So, if we start writing any article with our own choice, and we have done a lot of research and all that, after 500 to 1,000 words, I don't, we just pause at a certain point. After that, which we don't know what to write or the main content.
See, that is why before writing you need to have data. As I said, that it is very easy for someone to write 250 words or 500 words at max. But if you fall short, if you think that after 1,000 words you don't know what to write, that means your research is very limited. And trust me, it is not your research should not be everything out of your brain. It is what is existing in your own way. As I said, you need to read something, analyze it, and then you have to mention it. So you need to research more and more. Trust me, if you have 10 documents to one topic, I'm sure after getting into this research, this as I say, this junoon of research, you will end up researching 20 pages, 20 documents, eventually 30, 40. Research is, there's never an end to research. If you think you cannot go further 500 words, that means that you haven't researched, because there is lot of data. I think there are times where you will actually be scared that your article is too lengthy. How you will want to remove that data. That will be the time where actually you have attained the perfect researching skills.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, hi.
Ma'am, can you please highlight the importance of citations in a research paper?
Yes, citation. See, as I said that everything cannot be your own. You cannot write you are not Socrates that you will, come up with your own words and you just give a 5,000 long essay or article, your own pravachan. You don't have to do pravachan in research writing. So you need to go through others' readings, others' findings. So when you do other readings or findings, you need to give them acknowledgement. You need to accept that you have copied this or taken this idea from this particular person. So you need to give a footnoting. So when we come to footnotings or citations might be of some other author or some website. If you have gone through a newspaper article, even that is a citation. If you have gone through a certain convention or certain particular article of a certain convention, so you can also mention that in your citation, footnoting. And footnoting has various styles, like there is blue book footnoting, style of footnoting, there's Oscola, then there is Indian Law Institute style of footnoting. So there are various styles of footnoting. Basically, these styles are the way you have to write a footnote, and they have their sample where they have written how you need to place. Basically, it's the placement of the words, whether to first write the name of the author or name of the book, which one should be in italics, which page number, which year, which edition, which volume. So there's a style to write that. And that there are various styles, and it's not difficult. You can see their sample and you can change your citation according to their style. But citations are very important. You cannot let go of citations, because it's like a reference. When someone is reading your article, if they have further doubts, they can go through that main article where you have taken that idea from or that paragraph from, and they can themselves read the full article. So you need to give citations. Citations make your article more understanding. It becomes very easy for people to understand it when there are citations.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yeah.
Ma'am, how important is language? I mean, is it okay to write in a simple language or use more vocabularies or terminologies to, make your research or your paper more attractive, or Yeah. So how important is it okay to write in a simple language, like a normal language, or is it we have to, put on more terminologies or sentences like that?
Actually, this is a very good question, because when I first used to write, I remember I used to write a line and then I used to look for synonyms, some high sounding synonyms for certain words that I've used. So it might be a very simple word, but I used to look for synonyms to make it sound very heavy, a heavy term. And eventually I realized that that is not important. If your article is being judged on the heavy sounding word which delivers a simple meaning, then that article has not been judged properly. That is what I felt. Your article should be in simple terms. The simpler it is, the best it is. But yes, we have certain legal terms that we can't do away with. So you have to use those legal terms, the legal maxims. Rest away, when we come to English literature, no, I don't think ornamentation actually makes your article more attractive. Rather, it will be the more citations you are putting it, the more amount of, the more variance of thoughts you are bringing into your article will make your article more attractive than ornamentation. It's actually a very taboo that it is created, that a taboo is created, that that high sounding and heavy sounding ornament words makes an article. Sometimes when you read it as a student, an article, and there are these heavy sounding words, you waste half of your time googling those words, and at the end of the day you throw away the document because you are least interested in understanding what it says. But if you write a simple, if there's a simple article, then you find it fun to read because you're understanding it. So you need to think yourself when you're writing. You need to see it from the viewpoint of a reader. If you as a reader are happy with your work, then definitely your writing is perfect. That is what I feel.
Right, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay, so ma'am, I also have a question. So, yeah, go for it. So, ma'am, you have been a part of last around 50 or more than 50 MUNs, whether it's a national level or international level, and we have seen in many law colleges that they mainly focus on the speaking skills, and they prioritize more this one as compared to the research skills. But it also had its own importance, which I believe. So, ma'am, how do you prioritize uh, these two skills, both speaking and research, in being a part of a trials or moods or any MUN? So, how do you prioritize which ones or a
So let
balance?
me be honest. Whether it is a moot court or a MUN, you are a failure if you don't have research. A team of speakers are nothing without a researcher. So research has to be tagda for the speaker to give out those points. If the research is kokla, the whole speaking will be bekar. No matter how good a speaker you are, how fluent you are in English, but if you are speaking garbage, then it doesn't make sense. So for you to speak valuable words, you need to research. And it same applies in moot court competitions as well as MUNs. When in MUNs a delegate stands up and states certain things, anybody, and he or she is just speaking some rubbish English, then it is of 0 points. And somebody, even if not fluent in speaking, is giving out some proper research points, that gains points. So in law, we know that speaking skills are important, but it is not in any particular language. If you are very good in any language, any language present in India, it's very good, but you need to have proper research. Research is very important, and it's not necessary that you need to be very fluent in English particularly, because when you go to once you go to courts, you realize that your English is very limited to your college, and you need to be very good in the local languages. It's very important. And yes, you need to be good in understanding English because most of the documents are in English. So yes, the research is very important, and you need to be a fluent speaker. You should, and I think you will become a fluent speaker once you speak what you understand. If you are memorizing and speaking, then of course it will be very difficult for you to speak anything. So I think that is the.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. If any other questions you want to ask, then go ahead. Mention it in chat box or unmute yourself and ask. Is anything? I guess everyone is a quick learner.
Or maybe they are just bored of this session.
Oh, ma'am. Wait, it was quite. it was quite interactive. It was quite a good session. So I don't think anyone is bored. So, so it's okay if no more questions. So, ma'am, if you want to add something, then go ahead.
No, I think that would be it. Yes, I've given a lot of pravachan today.
It's okay, ma'am. It was quite amazing. So, thank you so much, ma'am. So, let's go. So, further, I, Swagat Abhiraj David, on behalf of Law Internships, extend a hearty, gratitude to Ms. Ananya Bhardwaj, ma'am, who honored us with this enriching session and took out time of her busy schedule. I must also mention our deep sense of appreciation to all the students who are present today. Hope this session was great learning experience for all of you. Thank you again, one and all. Hope you guys have enjoyed it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.